We have a number of very successful traders on our show. Let's take it over to Gareth Soloway. He's president of In the Money Stocks, and you have an interesting story to tell. How did you get your start in trading?
So it's been probably just over 20 years at this point, believe it or not. I started in my late teens, and that was kind of where I first got into trading. And it was an interesting start. You know, I grew up in a family that never invested. We didn't have a lot of money. I still remember going to, Friendlies once a week, the restaurant Friendlies, and we would go on the night Kids Eat Free. And in high school, I kind of got into trading by one of those investment clubs. And it happened to be in the later portion of the 90s when the dot-coms were running. And it was the Yahoo Finance Challenge. And I still remember vividly, you got a fake $100,000. And, basically with the dot-coms, I was able to double that money. And even though it was fake money, it was very addicting. The fact, I come from a family that we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't do a lot of things. And all of a sudden, a fake 100,000 turned into 250,000 in less than a month. And that just got me hooked. And I said to myself, I've got to look at this closer and go in this direction. So that's really how I started to get attached to the market and to trading.
I'm a huge fan on trading on paper before you actually trade with real money. In trader world, though, you started with what's considered not a lot of money, and you had some side hustles going.
And that's a great point. Is, early in my trading career, I basically had $10,000 at that point. So I didn't start with a lot of money. I mean, there's traders out there that start with hundreds of thousands, if not millions. That was not me at all. And I basically worked 3 different jobs. I was a bartending instructor. I bartended at nighttime and on weekends. And the whole goal was to just make up the losses from my trading. So when I started trading, I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have anyone that I could really trust that was giving me good advice. So it was a lot of trial and error in regards to learning. And when you start trading, I mean, everyone knows you're not going to win right out of the gate. In fact, you have to learn your lessons and take your losses. And I certainly took mine. So my 10,000 account, I had leveraged. I was with a firm that gave me about 5-to-1. So I had about 50,000 to trade off of that. And, I'd trade a week or two and I'd lose money and I'd just be working my butt off. And I would literally decide, do I want to eat lunch or dinner today? Because I wanted to save that extra money to put it back in my trading account. So for quite a while, I was just replenishing losses until I got enough lessons under my belt to start turning a profit. And it did take some time, no doubt about it.
You actually started investing while you were in college. Tell us about that experience.
I was investing in this period, and this was probably late 90s, early 2000, like really early, maybe 2000 or so. And I invested, one of the first stocks that I invested a decent amount of money at the time, which was about $10,000 in, was PPDI, Pharmaceutical Product Development. I'm not sure where they are today. But what was fascinating here is the stock went right down. As soon as I bought it, it went right down, right? And I was so, just being a young, kid, and I was just mad. I was annoyed. And I wrote a letter, an email to the company. And I basically directed it to the CEO. And everyone today would be like, you email Elon Musk, he's not going to respond. So I was in my dorm bathroom brushing my teeth. And all of a sudden my buddy comes and he's like, hey, you got a phone call. And back then I didn't have a cell phone, right? So I come and get it. And my mouth is like full of foam from the toothpaste. And it turned out to be the CEO of this publicly traded company. And he had called me to reassure me that the investment would do all right. And sure enough, a few months later, it went right back up and I ended up making a small amount before I sold it. But it's just, those are the stories that stick with you that probably in today's day and age would not occur again.
That is very true, and I'm sure you didn't talk about anything that he would not have told the shareholders at a meeting. Gareth, we are hearing reports that more teens are trading. What advice do you have for teenagers?
So number one is don't start with a lot of money. So and number two is don't expect to make money right away. There are so many new investors, whether you're young or old, that start with 10,000 or 5,000. And in their mind, they say, I'm going to double this in a week or something like that. If you have that mindset, you will lose it all. And I can vouch for that. I tried to turn my 10,000 into 50K in a month or whatever, and I would just keep losing. I'd have like 3 winners where I'd make $1,000 or 2,000, and then I'd have one loser that I lost 5,000 on. So you have to go in saying, okay, this is an educational process where I'm going to take my time. I just want to get $100 each trade or whatever it is, a small amount, and I want to learn along the way. And what I always tell people is that you are going to have to pay for your education. So if you're a scientist, you got to go to school for that. If you're a doctor, a brain surgeon, you got to go to a ton of school and pay a lot of money, right? You come out with massive amounts of debt. If you're a trader or you want to be a trader, you're either going to pay the market or you're going to pay someone else to learn, right? I happen to pay the market, and I paid the market easily as much as a brain surgeon would owe, over the course of my early years over time, just in stupid decisions that I ended up making. But I learned. So start small, because you can't lose a lot when it's a small amount. And really just, soak up that education, folks. I mean, so many people think it's so easy in this bull market we're in. And the real test of a character of a trader is, can you make money in a bear market?
Amen to that. It's easy to make money when the stock market is going up, but when it's going down, you need to know what you're doing. Thanks so much for sharing your story, and we are enjoying having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to talk to you.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.